North America. A vast land stretching from the icy tundras of the north to the sun-drenched deserts of the south, from the rugged mountains of the west to the fertile plains of the east. This land was a mosaic of diverse ecosystems, each teeming with life. Thousands of years ago, it was inhabited by many different people. These were the ancestors of today's Native Americans, who had established complex societies long before the arrival of Europeans. We were the first ones here. Our ancestors migrated across the Bering Land Bridge, spreading out across the continent and adapting to its varied environments. We lived in harmony with nature. Our survival depended on understanding the land, the seasons, and the animals we shared it with. Our lives were intertwined with the land. We cultivated crops, hunted game, and gathered wild plants, always taking care to maintain the balance of our environment. We respected all living things. Every plant, animal, and element had a role in our world, and we honored them through our traditions and practices. We were not one people, but many. Each tribe had its own unique identity, language, and customs, contributing to a rich tapestry of cultures. Tribes spread across the continent. From the forests of the northeast to the plains of the Midwest, from the deserts of the southwest to the coastal regions, each tribe adapted to its surroundings, each with its own language, customs, and beliefs. Our spiritual practices were deeply connected to the land and the natural world. Some were hunters following the buffalo. These majestic animals were central to the lives of the Plains tribes, providing food, clothing, and materials for shelter. Others were farmers cultivating corn, beans, and squash. These crops, known as the Three Sisters, were staples in many Native American diets and were often grown together in a symbiotic relationship. Our cultures were rich and diverse. We expressed ourselves through art, music, dance, and storytelling, each form a reflection of our connection to the land and our ancestors. We had our own forms of government, art, and spirituality. Our societies were organized and governed by councils and leaders who were chosen for their wisdom and experience. We passed down our history and traditions orally. Elders were the keepers of our knowledge, sharing stories that taught lessons and preserved our heritage. Stories, songs, and dances kept our heritage alive. These cultural expressions were more than entertainment. They were vital to our identity and community. We were caretakers of this land. We understood its rhythms and cycles, and we lived in a way that ensured its health and abundance for future generations. We lived within its bounty. The land provided for us, and in return we nurtured and protected it, ensuring that it would continue to sustain us and our descendants. The Cherokee people, known as the Salagi, thrived in the Southeast. They were one of the most culturally and socially advanced Native American tribes. Their society was built on a foundation of strong family ties, community cooperation, and a deep connection to the land. They built a sophisticated society with well-planned towns and a rich cultural heritage. Their homes were constructed from natural materials, blending seamlessly with their environment. The Cherokee were also known for their intricate basket weaving and pottery, which were both functional and beautiful. They developed a written language thanks to the efforts of Sequoyah, who created the Cherokee syllabary. This remarkable achievement allowed them to preserve their stories, laws, and traditions in written form, ensuring that their culture could be passed down through generations. They had a complex system of governance, with a council of leaders who made decisions for the community. This system was based on democratic principles, with each member having a voice in the decision-making process. The Cherokee also had a strong sense of justice, with laws and punishments that were fair and balanced. They were skilled farmers and artisans, growing crops such as corn, beans, and squash, which were known as the Three Sisters. These crops were the cornerstone of their diet, and were often grown together in a symbiotic relationship. Cherokee artisans were also highly skilled, creating beautiful pottery, baskets, and other crafts that were both functional and artistic. The Lakota, meaning friends or allies, roamed the Great Plains. They were a nomadic people following the buffalo herds that provided them with food, clothing, and shelter. The vast plains were their home, and they moved with the seasons, always in harmony with the natural world around them. They were a proud and independent people, known for their bravery and warrior spirit. Lakota warriors were highly respected within their community, and their skills in battle were legendary. They wore elaborate headdresses and painted their faces with symbols of their achievements and spiritual beliefs. They relied on the buffalo for sustenance, using every part of the animal to meet their needs. The buffalo provided them with meat for food, hides for clothing and shelter, and bones for tools and weapons. The buffalo hunt was a central part of Lakota life, and they honored the animal for the gifts it provided. They believed in Wakantanka, the Great Spirit, who they saw as the creator of all life. Their spiritual practices were deeply connected to the natural world, and they held ceremonies and rituals to honor the spirits of the land, animals, and ancestors. These practices were an integral part of their daily lives and helped to guide their actions and decisions. They were renowned for their horsemanship and warrior traditions. The horse was a symbol of freedom and power for the Lakota, and they were expert riders and breeders. Their skills on horseback were unmatched, and they used their horses for hunting, travel, and warfare. Along the northwest coast, the Haida people flourished. They lived in a land of towering forests and rugged coastlines, where the ocean provided them with an abundance of resources. The Haida were known for their seafaring skills and their ability to navigate the treacherous waters of the Pacific Northwest. They were master canoe builders and navigators, crafting large ocean-going canoes from the giant cedar trees that grew in their homeland. These canoes were not only used for fishing and transportation, but also for trade and warfare. The Haida's knowledge of the sea and their boat-building skills were unparalleled. They lived in large cedar plank houses adorned with intricate carvings, which depicted their clan histories and spiritual beliefs. These houses were communal, with multiple families living under one roof. The Haida's woodworking skills were legendary, and their art was both functional and deeply symbolic. They believed in a spirit world inhabited by powerful creatures, and their totem poles told the stories of these beings and their interactions with the human world. Totem poles were not only artistic masterpieces, but also important cultural symbols that conveyed the history and beliefs of the Haida people. The ocean was their lifeline, providing them with fish, shellfish, and other marine resources. The Haida were expert fishermen, using a variety of techniques to harvest the bounty of the sea. Their deep connection to the ocean was reflected in their art, stories, and daily lives. The 15th century marked a turning point. Europeans arrived, bringing with them their own ambitions. They claimed our land as their own. They called us Indians, a misnomer that stuck. Their arrival disrupted the balance of our world. At first there was curiosity, there was trade, there was even cooperation. But this fragile peace did not last. The newcomers craved more land, more resources. They saw us as obstacles. Their greed knew no bounds. They brought with them diseases. Smallpox, measles, influenza. These ravaged our communities. Entire villages decimated. We had no immunity to these foreign illnesses. It was a weapon they never wielded, but one that decimated us nonetheless. Treaties were signed, then broken. Our land was taken, acre by acre. We were forced onto reservations, often on land deemed undesirable by the newcomers. The government made promises they did not keep. The Indian Removal Act of 1830 was a particularly dark chapter. It authorized the president to negotiate with tribes east of the Mississippi River. The goal was to remove them to lands west of the river. This opened up more land for white settlers. Resistance was met with violence. The U.S. Army was used to enforce these removals. Our people were driven from their homes. They were forced to walk hundreds, even thousands of miles. Many perished along the way. Section 5, A Trail of Tears. The Cherokee Nation's removal is a stark example of this brutality. In 1838, they were forced to leave their ancestral lands in Georgia and other southeastern states. Driven by soldiers, they embarked on a harrowing journey. Thousands died from disease, starvation, and exposure. This forced migration became known as the Trail of Tears. It is a permanent scar on the American conscience. It is a testament to the suffering inflicted upon our people. The Trail of Tears was not an isolated incident. Similar forced removals occurred throughout the 19th century. Tribes were displaced, their cultures disrupted, and their way of life forever altered. Section 6. Survival against the odds. Throughout history, Native American tribes have faced countless challenges and adversities. From the arrival of European settlers to the forced relocations and broken treaties, our people have endured immense hardships. Yet despite these overwhelming obstacles, we have always found ways to survive and thrive. Despite these hardships, we persevered. Our ancestors showed incredible resilience, adapting to new environments and finding ways to sustain their communities. They relied on their deep knowledge of the land, their resourcefulness, and their unwavering spirit to overcome the challenges they faced. We held on to our traditions. Through ceremonies, dances, and crafts, we kept our cultural heritage alive. These practices were not just rituals, they were a way to connect with our ancestors, to remember our history, and to pass down our values to future generations. We fought to preserve our languages and cultures. Elders played a crucial role in teaching the youth, ensuring that our languages, stories, and traditions were not lost. Language is a vital part of our identity, and preserving it was an act of resistance against the forces that sought to erase us. We adapted to a changing world. As the world around us evolved, so did we. We learned to navigate new technologies and urban environments while still holding on to our cultural roots. This adaptability is a testament to our enduring spirit and our ability to thrive in any situation. Our resilience is a testament to the strength of our ancestors. Their wisdom and courage have been passed down through generations, inspiring us to continue their legacy. We honor their memory by standing strong and continuing to fight for our rights and our place in the world. The 20th century brought new challenges: economic hardships, forced relocations, and government policies aimed at assimilation tested our communities. Yet we found ways to support each other and maintain our cultural identity. Our children were sent to boarding schools. These institutions were designed to strip away their native identity and force them to adopt mainstream American culture. The impact of these schools was profound and long-lasting. They were forbidden to speak our languages. The suppression of our languages was an attempt to erase our cultural heritage. But even in the face of such oppression, our people found ways to keep their languages alive, often in secret. They were forced to assimilate into mainstream American culture. This forced assimilation was a deliberate effort to erase our identities and disconnect us from our roots. However, our communities resisted these efforts and continued to nurture our cultural practices. These schools were designed to strip away our identities. But still, we resisted. Our people organized, protested, and fought back against these injustices. The strength of our community and our commitment to our heritage helped us to endure and resist these oppressive measures. We fought for our rights. Through legal battles, activism, and community organizing, we demanded recognition and respect for our rights. Our efforts have led to significant changes and greater awareness of the issues facing Native American communities. We demanded to be heard. Our voices have been a powerful force for change. Through speeches, demonstrations, and community meetings, we have made it clear that we will not be silenced. The American Indian Movement, or AIM, emerged in the 1960s. This movement played a crucial role in advocating for Native American rights and bringing attention to the injustices we faced. Activists staged protests and occupations, bringing attention to the injustices faced by Native Americans. These actions were pivotal in raising awareness and pushing for change. The legacy of AIM continues to inspire new generations of activists committed to justice and equality for Native American communities. Section 7. The Echoes of the Past and the Present. Today we continue to face challenges. Poverty, discrimination, and health disparities are realities for many Native American communities. We are working to overcome these obstacles. We are striving to create a better future for our children. Our contributions to American society are many. We have served in the military with distinction. We have excelled in athletics, art, and literature. We have contributed to the environmental movement, advocating for the protection of our land and resources. We are reclaiming our past. We are teaching our children our languages. We are sharing our stories and traditions. We are ensuring that our heritage will not be forgotten. Section 8. Honoring the Legacy. The history of Native Americans is an integral part of the American story. It is a story of resilience, resistance, and cultural survival. It is a story that must be told, remembered, and honored. We were here first. This is our ancestral land. We are still here. We are not going anywhere. Our voices will continue to rise. Our spirits will never be broken. We will continue to fight for our rights, for our